let it rip. Now I'ma let it hit. I'ma come at them with skills, make them wanna quit. Best believe I'm set to win. If you tested me, you better think again. Let it rip. Now I'ma let it hit. I'ma come at them with skills, make them wanna quit. Best believe I'm set to win. If you tested me, you better think again.
Hey everyone, it's the yugioh. Okay, this is gonna be a rant, but not rant video. As you can see, I'm not really mad or anything. It just what people keep saying is just like contradictory to what it actually is. What makes a good deck good? Now, it's kind of sad that people say, well, you know, this deck doesn't top the shonen, so it's not good, or this deck doesn't win at Worlds, so it's not good. Just because they don't top a shonen doesn't mean they're not good. It just means that they just let's weigh the scales here. 50 people running Machina. It's a good deck. But when you weigh it compared to 500 people running Samurai, the chances that Samurai are going to top over Machina, pretty considerable. Just saying. In shonens, you cannot judge, like, the decks at the top are good decks. You know that. That's fine. But you can't judge what's not a good deck just because it's not in the top of the shonen, because you never know. All you see is the top 32. Like, when I went to Anaheim, I got 34th. That's good. For a gadget deck running just pure anti-meta, 34th place, 9-2 out of like 1,500 people. I think that's damn good, you know, and I know the deck's good because I've played it. And, you know, this is just another thing I was talking about. You know, just because you don't see it in the top doesn't mean it's not a good deck. It just means, compared to the vast majority of the other decks there, it just didn't make it. And like I said, if you looked at, I used to like it. They used to do this. They don't do it anymore. They used to put the top 32, and then they would post the other results elsewhere. But they don't do that anymore, and I don't know why. But oh well. That's not the point. The point is that just because the deck doesn't make it to the top of a shonen doesn't mean the deck's not good. It just means it didn't make it. In my opinion, what makes a deck good is that whatever you have it to do, if it's an OTK deck, if you're running gadgets and you just want to be an asshole the entire game, or whatever your deck is designed to do, if it does it and does it in 3 ways. First of all, flawlessly. Your deck shouldn't draw bad hands a lot. It shouldn't, you know, be really slow. You know, your deck should be fast, competitive. You know, this is just my idea because slow decks are fun, but I like winning and I like, you know, being able to push my opponent back. I hate when people just swarm right over you because your deck's too slow. So, you know, it does what it needs to do fast. You know, it does it good. Like, it doesn't like dead draw kind of thing. And I know any deck can dead draw. That's fine. But I'm saying it doesn't do it a lot. 2, it has some way of stopping your opponent, or if it's an OTK, it has some way of protecting your stuff. I really dislike a lot of the builds I see for OTK decks because they have nothing to stop a response from their opponent. If their opponent responds with MST or something, they're like, oh, I lose. That's what they literally do. So I like seeing a deck that can not only either stop the opponent or protect their field. One of those two things. You have to do that. If you have no protection or no stopping, to be honest, you're going to lose, in my opinion. You know, that's just from what I've seen and from what I've played. And like I said, I've played OTK decks. I've played Demise OTK. I've played Machine OTK. I've played all of that stuff. So I've been around for a while. And third, this is one of the most important things. Thirdly, your deck must have its win condition, or whatever you have, you know, whether it's attacking, OTK, whatever, must have its win condition, and must have multiple ways to get it out. That's one of the biggest problems I see. People will run like Demise OTK with like 1 Demise. What are you gonna do if you like draw it and then you have a trade-in? What? You're just gonna sit there and be like, I'm not gonna play trade-in. Go ahead. No, I mean, you should run multiple of it. Or people who run, what do you call it? The new Psylocke. And they run 1 Brain Research Lab. What do you do if that gets blown up? Your deck just lost its whole win condition. You know, if you're whatever you're doing, If you're running a win condition deck, run more of one win condition. You just have to. If you're running a standard, beat down deck, whatever, then your win condition will be different. But run cards that can constantly support that. Because, don't get me wrong, I like innovation, but when you innovate a deck to where it just doesn't work anymore, there's no point. I've seen people build OTK decks and then they'll run Mind Crush and Dust Shoot in it. What is the point? You're gonna OTK them anyway. Why are you running Mind Crush and Dust Shoot? You're like, oh, I could set these, but I have OTK. What did that do? Or when people are running first turn kill decks and run Reckless Greed? What? It's not a first turn. You have to set it and then end. That's like a second or a third turn. But, it's just, like I said, I like innovation, but make sure your deck is, because I'll give you an example. I'm not going to mention any names because I don't want people ragging on him. There's a certain YouTuber, I was watching his video, he plays a certain type of deck, and he plays 2 staples. But the staples are Monster Reborn and Call of the Haunted. Now, those are good cards. But he plays Gravekeepers. Monster Reborn and Call of the Haunted are good. But if you're playing Gravekeepers, you want Necro Valley out. If you have Necro Valley out, you ain't playing either of those. Forcing yourself into dead draws is... I don't like it. I said I'm not going to name any names or point any fingers because I don't want people ragging on them, but if you watch this video, you know who you are. Take the Monster Reborn and the Monster Reborn and the Call Haunted out for 2 Rite of Spirit. It's that easy, my friend. If you want to reborn stuff, Rite of Spirit it. End of story. But anyways, but that's not the point. Like I said, make sure whatever you're running, make sure it goes with your deck. Just don't throw random stuff in there because people tell you it's a good card. It's a good card for their deck. Doesn't mean it's a good card for your deck. Just like I hate it when people are like, oh, Monster Reborn, Call of the Haunted, and Pot of Avarice are staples in every deck. No, they're bloody well not. Samurais don't give 2 craps about freaking Pot of Avarice. They abuse their graveyard. They enjoy their graveyard. They're like, dude, my graveyard is my precious. Why would I put it back in my deck? That's what Samurai do. There's wee! And then, it's like a Gravekeeper. All 3 of those cards, Gravekeepers are staple. You can forget that. So, a good deck is defined by how well it plays, pretty much. If I think if a deck can consistently top 16 a regional, I think it's honestly a good deck. Now, just because you can't top 16 a regional doesn't mean it's not a good deck. It just means maybe you need to play it more to understand how to play out of different situations, or maybe you have to change some cards, or it's always any deck has the possibility to be good, but you've got to find the setup that makes it good, and then you've got to learn to use that setup. That's the funniest thing is people always tell me this deck is good, this deck is gonna rape, this deck is amazing, and I'm like, that's if the player gets what he needs. The Psylocke deck is good. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying decks like that aren't bad or are bad. I'm just saying that if your deck is all luck based, you can play it and it might be a good deck, but it's gonna lose a lot because you're gonna go dead hand. Dead hand. Just like the Psylocke. I'm not trying to rag on it, but if you go Mind Master and then you go Activate Effect and they go Veiler, they just kind of did that number to you, and you're just kind of sitting there going, what? That's all you're gonna do because Veiler just says STFU, no Mind Master. And a lot of people are running Veiler again. A lot of people are running Veiler right now. So it's not like it's uncommon. Or if they go first and they go, oh, look, let's set MST. That's going to suck for you. I'm going to play Brain Research Lab and do all of this, MST. When they know you're going for that Naturia Beast? Nah. MST that crap. And to be honest, by that time, you're going to be taking a lot of damage. Like $5,000. And then you lose your Brain Research Lab, so you'd have to play another. So it's just, ugh. Sorry. When I think about it, it makes me cringe. Now, if you go first and get your setup, fine, you win. That's fine, I don't care. But as I'm saying, what makes a good deck good in my opinion, are those three things. Your deck has to perform well. That's what it has to do. And then, of course, you need to find tech cards that support your deck and help your deck and stuff like that. So, the main thing I wanted to say was, a lot of people say, well, since this deck didn't top the Shonen, it's not a good deck. Or since this deck wasn't ran at National, it's not a good deck. That's not true. It just means the decks that did top or that were ran were considered to be better than the deck that wasn't ran or didn't top. That's all it is. It doesn't mean certain decks aren't a good deck. Like, I hear a lot of people say now, X-Sabers are now a bad deck, or, GBs are now a bad deck. They're not. They're just less popular. And they're not as fast and as broken as some of the top decks right now. That's all. So, this is the Gadget Guru, and I will catch you all later.